This is Anne Theory.
Professor, can you tell us about conservative radio?
Conservative radio is interesting. It really is a good case study in what platforming can do. I want you to understand something very simple about talk radio. A true radio talk show would have some sort of talk debate format, and that would be incredibly boring. It would be irritating. It would be a market failure. Think about this. You're driving down the road, and the product you are selling in radio is what? Somebody's there raising some issue. Some random caller gives their opinion. Somebody else comes on and gives some other opinion. That just would be irritating to listen to. To combat this general phenom, radio learned to develop an infomercial. An infomercial is a scripted linear message looking for buyers. It's looking for an audience alignment. An example of this would be something called Purity Products. I don't know if you know what that is. Purity Products, they're like vitamins. And when they push the product, there's a scripted interview. The host is there saying, oh, we're talking with Dr. Edwards today about vitamin E. And Dr. Edwards would give his spill, and we're taking a caller today for Dr. Edwards and vitamin E. And someone comes on and says, well, my skin is bad or whatever, blah, blah. Well, this is how it can work, and vitamin E can help you with that. And so it's a scripted linear message. If you listen to investment shows like the Rick Edelman Show, but that also is a scripted program with a linear message. I did a radio show at the university with a student, and we also avoided debates because debates are irritating. Every time we did it, I came in with a script, and we had a plan of attack. It was a professor-student model, a way of doing it.
You are listening to In Theory.
Conservative radio today borrows from the lessons of the infomercial. Tight linear talk, where if there is a caller or guest, it is a planned drop in the narrative. You don't have a caller, you have a drop. That's exactly what the caller is, a drop. Some of these things might actually be planted calls. I used to monitor every now and then Rush Limbaugh, and I know a couple of the things that I listened to had to be plants. But for the most part, they're not plants. They're simply screened. You know, somebody calls in and someone's screening them. And they're looking for this, looking for this, looking for this. Oh, this one's good. We'll give this one. You know, you can do this one, and then it comes up on the screen what the caller is, and the person knows what they're getting, and it fits right in a tight linear script. Always with conservative radio, the themes are the same. Hope you understand the product is providing the same thing every single day. Every single day, conservative radio provides the same product. Same product every day. What is that product? Well, first of all, it's angry. You're getting ripped off. These other people who lack common sense, they're hurting you in some way. Look at what these people are doing now. Oh, look at what they're doing now. Look at what the socialists are doing now. It's angry, and these other people who think with these corny ideas, they're just hurting everyone.
This is Anne Theory.
The other thing they do, I believe it was Rush Limbaugh who invented this, is they take people who believe in liberal political messages, liberal ideology. They talk about them as though they are a people. Let's say we talk about Catholics. We can understand Catholics as a people. Now, they're not really people. They're just any person who happens to become Catholic. But we can talk of them like this. With conservative and liberal, that's just supposed to be, you know, me or you, just believing in political philosophy. We're not a people. But conservative radio has been very, very, very good at making people who believe sort of leftist ideas into a people. You know, like I can do this maneuver right now. Right, I'll do it for you as an example. Talk about those people out in Yellow Springs. You can say something like, you know, they're not really against discrimination. These people are simply picking the winners and losers that they want to pick. And if I make that maneuver, I'm disparaging them, those people. That that these people are flighty, that they're fake. You know, you see this all the time with the Hollywood. You know, the Hollywood people might be doing like liberal things. They might be wanting to have clean energy or something, or do something socially worthy. And so these people sort of get painted as these facile people who think poorly and who are hypocrites. And so there's an aspect provided for them as a people.
You are listening to In Theory.
You know, one of the things I notice on conservative radio stations, they market something very simple. When President Obama was in office, the sky was falling, you know, terrible things are happening. And I noticed that during the Trump administration, there's a very interesting theme. Trump is saving America and Obama was terrible. And I have to tell you, Why is it not possible to say, hey, Obama did some good things. Trump has some successes. Maybe he has some failures. We talk about this without affiliation. I don't know why these people have to be anti-Obama. I mean, there are some things that Trump is doing that I say you've had success. Like what? You've done a decent job on economy. You've changed the narrative on China. You've got these trade agreements. You've passed criminal justice reform. Okay, so you also have failures, President Trump. There's things you're doing bad. One of the things you're doing really bad is your style is bad. President Trump has an atrocious public style. I think a lot of people agree with that. And it hurts him all the time, shoots himself in the foot. And so why can't you just talk like that? Why does it have to be in one media form? You're totally pro and then anti, something. And when you just simply can take the good and the bad of any situation. This is the way politics should be.
This is in theory.
Now, I wanted to talk about the early days of this. In the early days of conservative radio, it was largely thought to be a small nut job operation. Who thought of it like that? Well, people like me, People like me would hear the radio, and I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. We never thought, and I don't think so today, I think Sean Hannity is not very smart. What kind of grade is he going to get on an essay if I give him an essay? Suppose I gave him an essay and I said, I want you to critique the economics data under the Obama administration. He's likely to get a D on that. He often lies about that. Like, for example, here's what he'll do. This is so funny, this guy. Obama got the Great Recession and walked us out of that. And what these people do, like on conservative radio, Hannity, they'll look at his economic growth numbers for the 8 years and provide you an average. Well, a professor would tell you, excuse me, it's a bit of a fallacy to provide an average. Look, he started with, look what they handed him. When the country was burning down, so you can't do an average of that. I mean, if you really want to know what he's doing, how about you average the second term? We always thought, this is my point to you, political scientists always thought these people were kind of nutty. No one considered talk radio to be politically serious, to be efficacious. If you have a bell curve, you're going to have passionate people on one side, passionate people on the other, and they're just the passionate people. Okay, so the guys on the radio, so what? It also seemed to have an equal side objective. These conservatives, these conservative outlets, they're always selling these people something, always. I remember when they were doing this Stop the Steal thing after this last election, and I won't forget this. Rudy Giuliani goes on YouTube. I wish I had this for you. I should have taped it. He goes on YouTube. He was the person trying to fight the election. And in the middle of his presentation of the latest breaking news for why the election was stolen for you, in the middle of it, he brings out these gold coins and says, you have a chance to buy them. They're only about this much, and it's a really great deal to get these gold coins. And he's doing that himself. Someone's paying him to sell those gold coins because he's got this audience. And so I always found it funny that they're always selling things. And so what I would always think as a political scientist was that, look, this was just an operation. You've got these passionate people. They're on the radio. They're selling these people stuff. Nobody took this seriously in politics except Bill Clinton. In the 90s, Rush Limbaugh and this stuff very seriously bothered him. The Clintons saw political right-wing radio as a threat. Nobody paid attention to that.
You are listening to In Theory.
Many Republicans thought it was actually hurting the national candidate. What we would say is the Republicans had this critique too, a lot of them, the establishment Republicans. And they would say things like, look, all that this radio is doing is tearing down the opponent. It can't itself win. It can't itself win a majority. All it can do is tear down the opponent. And if Trump would have lost in 2016, that may have been a verdict that got cemented in history. You forget what that 2016 election was. It was New Democrats thrashing Republicans again for the third time in a row. And so if Hillary would have gotten in there, that program from Obama, carried on by Hillary, very consistent with Bill Clinton, that program would have marched on. And people were talking, there were all kinds of things about what Republicans need to do to reform themselves. People were laughing. How could this party have selected Donald Trump? How could this populism have taken over this party? Populism tried to take over the Democrats and they defeated it. That was what the traditional prognosis was of the radio. All that it seemed capable of doing was tearing down the other side, making Democratic poll numbers fall, not making the Republican candidate any more popular.
You are listening to in theory.
2016 made political experts reevaluate this. I myself now see conservative radio as being politically efficacious. This stuff works. In 2016, if you would have asked me, is Ohio a swing state? I would have said yes. I would have said yes. So we were still in the paradigm. We did not see what was happening. Trump won this state by 8 points. He won it again by 8 points. At the same time, when the conservative radio market is very strong in this state. You go anywhere in this state. You go down to Cincinnati, they've got their people. Bill Cunningham, I don't know if you know who he is. You go into Columbus, there's Glenn Beck. You used to be able to drive anywhere in this state, because I have to drive across the state. I drive across it to go home for Thanksgiving, and I would drive diagonally down sometimes to go see my daughter. And wherever I drove, anywhere in this state, Rush Limbaugh was on, anywhere. I mean, you do the scan on the radio, and you're listening to him. Then you're in a totally another part of the state doing the scan, he's on. He's on everywhere, everywhere. And the question you have to ask yourself is the market share and the popularity of this product related to the fact that Trump wins the state twice by 8 points? And I can tell you point blank, I believe it is. So we political scientists were fools, and Bill Clinton, the Clintons were right to realize that this is a very interesting political device because it seems to have some effect.